Hey, everybody, I am Kevin Iole. Welcome to Yahoo Sports. That is Suga Sean O'Malley, as well as I don't know who, but they are obviously making him look good for UFC 280 in Abu Dhabi. One of the best cards in an awful long time the UFC's put on, and they put on some really good ones. Sean O'Malley is second from the top on this one. He is fighting Petr Yan, the former interim champion. Sean, first of all, were you surprised when you got the call that they picked you for this fight? You know, did you expect to get this fight this quickly?
It's a good question. Yes and no. I obviously the Pedro Munoz fight didn't play out the way I wanted it to. In my eyes, if you look at the stats, I didn't get hit once in the face, didn't get hit in the body, checked a lot of the kicks. I punched him. He thought I broke his orbital. He thought I poked him in the eye because I hit him so hard. I just felt like that at the end of the day that I won that fight, or I was about to. So, and apparently UFC thought the same thing, because you don't get offered the number one guy in the world coming off a loss or coming off So I think obviously having a big name helps too. But I went to the UFC after that fight. I said, I'm ready to book a fight. Let's go. Let's do this. Petr Yan was the only guy in the top 10 without a fight booked, and so that fight came about like that. I'm surprised Petr took it more than I'm surprised the UFC offered it to me.
Because the fact that, hey, what's in it for him fighting a guy ranked 12th? Is that what you're referencing?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not ranked this high. Obviously, he's number one. He can't fight someone ranked higher than him. But he must have wanted to book a fight too. I'm just surprised that he took the fight with the. I don't know. I guess I'm not too, just because I am a big name and he beats me. It's a big win for him too. So,
when they're done with you, by the way, can you send them my way? Because I need some work. So I got a couple hours here that they can maybe help me out a little bit. Anyway, Sean,
yeah,
I want to ask you about the Contender series a little bit, because that's kind of where you came into public consciousness with your performance there. Bo Nichols thing the other day, he was just phenomenal. And the Contender series, all of a sudden, I shouldn't say all of a sudden, but is really feeding the UFC with great talent. I wanted to get your take on it. What is it about that way of getting into the UFC that hardens guys so much and helps find, because the UFC could be signing all you guys, right? Just signing you and not have you fight on the series. What is it, do you think, about the Contender series format that is helping develop so many great fighters?
Yeah, I think there's just so many good fighters out there that are just not signed to UFC. The UFC can't have, an unlimited roster, but I think there's just that many good fighters out there. And Contender Series, obviously, if you're trying to get to the UFC, that's where you want to end up, on the Contender Series. Sean Shelby, Hunter, Mick, Dana are sitting cage side. It's become a pretty big show. So it's where you want to be if you're not in the UFC, sitting, fighting in front of the bosses. So I think there's just so much good talent out there that it's just the Contender Series highlights it really well.
You've been in the UFC for a couple of years now. So can you see the difference in overall talent, like say in your division, compared to when it was when you made your debut?
Yeah, absolutely. I think every year each division is going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. It's just the sport's insane. I mean, that 17-year-old, I didn't watch the fight, but I know at 17 I wasn't able to even be on the Contender Series, let alone get signed to the UFC. So yeah, the divisions are going to continue to get deeper and deeper with the sport growing as much as it is, and fighting is just the best sport in the world. So even if there's not a lot of money in it early on, people are still going to have passion for the sport and want to fight regardless. So yeah, each year is going to the division's going to get better and better and better. The next 10 years, we're going to be seeing probably a lot more young kids, 17, 18, 19-year-olds getting signed to the UFC, just because they're going to have the experience and the skill set to do so. It's a young man's sport. So yeah.
Interesting. You have fought 9 times in the UFC, and 7 of those 9 have gone to a natural conclusion, either a decision or a finish. 2 fights, your Chito Vera fight and the Pedro Munoz fight got stopped because of injuries in the middle of the bout. But so I guess my question I wanted to ask you about that is, 6 of those 7 fights that went to a natural conclusion, you've gotten either performance of the night or fight of the night. And my question on that is, do you actually go out there and say, hey, I am going to put on a show? And so do you fight that way so that you can make a name for yourself and get attention? Or is that just sort of a byproduct of your style?
I think even if you go back and look, my first couple kickboxing matches when I was 16, and my first MMA fight when I was 18, my entire amateur career, there was no $50,000 on the line. There was, not even $1,000 on the line, and the fights were very similar. I go out there, it's just my style. It was never anything. It wasn't like thought about. It wasn't like, well, you have to be different to be. You just have to get as good as you can at what you're good at, and to excel in the sport. And my style just happens to be that knockout kind of flashy style. You can't, like, I couldn't, if I wanted to, I couldn't even go in there and be like, I'm just going to be a grinder wrestler. I'm going to go and do that. Like, I just couldn't. You just have to get good at what you're already good at. And my style just happens to be entertaining. And so I definitely don't think, like, going into this fight, I'm not like, oh, I'm going to try to do some flashy stuff so I can get 50,000, extra dollars. I'm going to just go in there and do what I know, what I'm capable of doing. And that will get me $50,000.
And I was going to say, the one thing, the advantage, I mean, your speed and quickness, allow you to do things that other guys can't do, right? And so you get those flashy knockouts because you have such quick hands and feet that put you in position that other guys maybe can't get into. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, my speed is definitely my biggest advantage, I'd say.
Yeah. How much of an advantage is it against Peter? And do you think, like, everybody's expecting this to be, some really high level striking contest, and I hope it is. But do you feel like your speed is going to be a big edge against a guy like this?
Yeah, there's not going to be any fight I ever go into that my speed isn't going to be, my biggest asset, and something I think is going to play a huge role in the fight. This fight's no different. I do think Peter will be probably the fastest guy I fought. But I've had really, really good training partners. I flew in some people. I've had some good guys, good kickboxers that are fast. It's hard for me sometimes to find guys that are quick as me. But my sparring partners have been awesome. I've been doing all my sparring over at the MMA lab, and they have a bunch of killers over there. So it's been I've had great, very, very good preparation for Petr Yan.
What do you make of him? His first fight against Sterling, we thought he dominated until he had the foul. He looked tremendous against Jose Aldo. Some people may have thought Aldo was done at that point. Aldo came back and had a couple good performances after that. But his last fight maybe wasn't as impressive as he had been. So, how do you break him down, and where do you think he is in his career right now?
Yeah, I think that goes to show you how good Aljamain Sterling is the reason Peter didn't look so good in his last fight. Aljo adapted the first fight. You can look at it, and Aljo came out kind of spazzy, and Peter was tactical and started piecing him up in those later rounds and kind of dominated the fight. Aljo in the second fight came out with a better game plan, wasn't so spastic, and did what he needed to do. So I think that just goes to show you how good Aljo is. Peter still, could be considered the champ in some people's eyes. I thought Aljo did win that fight. For some, it's debatable to some. So he could be considered the champ, or he is number one guy in the bantamweight division right now. So yeah, he's definitely as good as people think he is. He's as scary as people think he is. His skills are as good as they are. And I think that's just a perfect person for me to go out there and show how good I really am.
Yeah. The bantamweight division is fantastic. So many great fighters. I think at 135, 145, 155, we have, just overloaded with talent. Is it help you at all, or is it a motivation to know right above you is the title fight? Like, so you're going to walk back to the locker room after the fight and you're going to be able to watch who you're fighting next, right? Does that help at all in any way? I don't even know if it's motivationally, because you can't have any more motivation than I'm sure you do, but just being able to watch them in person go at it.
I honestly, I've had very little thought of what's next. Obviously, I go out there and beat the number one guy in the world. You get a title shot. This is kind of what happens. But yeah, I think I go out. I don't know. It's hard to say. One of those guys could get hurt. Whoever wins the belt could get hurt. You could have an interim title. It's just so tricky to say. you know, that Cheeto Vera fight's right around the corner too, that I'm really, really excited about. You know, so I wouldn't say there's any extra motivation knowing like the titles, those guys are on there. I think, yeah, I'm just so excited for me versus Peter to stand in the octagon.
So before we let you go, I know you got a whole day of interviews. Give us a little scoop on October 22nd in Abu Dhabi. What's it going to look like? We see what's going on here. Give us a scoop. What color is it going to be? Long, short? Going to be braided? What are we going to have?
Yeah, the hair will always be braided. I don't want it bouncing in my eyes. That's one of the most annoying thing ever is when your hair, you're trying to, you know, get in a fist fight with somebody and you got a hair in your eye. And yeah, so the hair will always be braided. The colors will always be bright, and I'll always shine under the light. So it's going to be fun. Abu Dhabi makes it a little extra special. Never in my last 10 fights, I believe, have been in Vegas. So it's going to be interesting. I head out for Abu Dhabi Thursday. So I will be out there a little over 2 weeks. I'll be dialed in. My sleep will be good. My, you know, circadian rhythm will be on Abu Dhabi time, and I'll be ready to go.
Awesome. Well, October 22nd, UFC 280, one of the best cards of the year. I'll tell you what, one of the best I can remember in a while. This man, Suga Sean O'Malley, is fighting Petr Yan. Don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss the card. Sean, best of luck to you, my friend. Thank you for your time, and good luck with the work.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
See you, bro.